and have a deep appreciation for what it means to try to make God's Word a resource for Christian living right there at ground zero, not in some abstract academic way. So I'm really interested in how we make the Old Testament a resource for our own faithful living.
We understand Jesus pretty well as nonviolent, and then they get confronted with this and they have trouble holding it together. And I think as catechists we have trouble holding it, helping them hold it together. And I'm wondering how the prophets might serve in that struggle.
The books that are most problematic, even to me, in terms of the issue of violence, are Joshua and Judges. Much more so even than the Pentateuch or the Torah.
Yeah.
And even the prophets are helpful there because they understand that to have been a very nationalistic period in Israel's life, and they become critical of that that kind of nationalism that narrowly identifies God with a king or a national interest. And so they're constantly calling people to broader visions, like I've called you to be a light to the nations, not just to Israel.
Yeah.
And so the prophets are constantly broadening that, and they themselves are critics of some of the excesses of earlier times. Now, embedded within those stories of Joshua and Judges, there are still important stories of faithful people like Gideon and Deborah, whose stories are still important and inspiring and helpful, and raise up notions of what it means to give leadership even when the world around them is violent. The book of Judges says 3 times in the book of Judges, in those days people did what was right in their own eyes. So the book of Judges itself is critical of the self-indulgence of that period, and saying, they're looking toward a time when there's a return to covenant leadership, and the prophets are one of the places where that return takes place because they are such covenant champions. For the catechists, the people doing the teaching, it's really important to know how all of this fits together as a whole, even if you're teaching a small part of it in a given lesson. Because that sense of how it all fits together is a very important asset for the people doing the catechetical teaching. And the more you can fill in that broader picture, I think the more assured teaching becomes, even when you're only dealing with a piece of it.